One sentence summary. London is so scary that if the ghosts don't get you, the taxis will. Could you beat the villain? Could I be either ghosts or my own fragile mental state? If you believe that your house is haunted or your flat is haunted, even if it's not, I think calling in the Ghostbusters or an old priest and a young priest, they're going to get you feeling better or get rid of the ghosts. And as someone who's been to Clophill Church and made fun of Zozo the Demon, I'm not really scared of ghosts anyway, because they're not real. Could you beat the villain? Yes, I can, in summary. How would you improve this film? Spoilers right off the bat. Ellie can see ghosts, or she's got a mental disorder, but the film leans towards she is actually seeing ghosts, because her grandma believes she can see ghosts, and she knows things that she wouldn't know without her visions. But the visions lie to her. They show her a murder that never actually happened. So she's living in the house owned by Sandy, Alexandra, or whatever her actual name is. Sandy feels that, her dreams and hopes and whatever died up in that room. But actually, she wasn't murdered, which is what Ellie saw. So it was just a bit like, what is Ellie's gift here? Can she see ghosts? Or is she reading Sandy's subconscious? What's going on? Ellie ends half of her scenes by running away scared or waking up from a dream going, ah! It's weird, right? Very, very the way scenes ends. I feel like if at the beginning of the film she'd been into the usual teenage girl stuff or whatever, then as she has these dreams about Sandy and she starts getting more involved in the past, when the 60s culture kind of creeps into her activities, then show that something was off. She changes her hairstyle in the film to fit more like this Sandy dream girl, and if then she had started listening to the 60s music, that would have been cooler in my opinion. Whatever. This film has some interesting camera work, but it lacked the pizzazz I would expect from an Edgar Wright film. Maybe he's just developing as a director and he wants to try something new, but I felt like this missed something. It didn't quite feel right. Ellie's grandma says that Wimpy has closed, and I think she's wrong because I'm pretty sure I saw one in Essex, so that's something. Why would a student who has no job yet take a taxi from the train station to where she's staying? You'd take the underground if you're in London. And also the taxi driver, he was creepy. I didn't like him, that was the point. But why would he think referring to himself as a stalker would win the affections of this young lady? Speaking of taxis, this film has Ellie almost hit by a taxi twice because she's not paying attention to where she's going. And then Terence Stamp's character is hit by a taxi and the taxi driver's like, oh, he just stopped in the road. Yeah, but as the driver, it's your responsibility to not run him over if he just stops. Seems like the driver was going too fast and, Terence Stamp is quite an old dude. He couldn't have been sprinting across the road and stopped suddenly to surprise you. How did Jocasta know that Ellie was her roommate before Ellie had even knocked on the door? And if you remove Jocasta and her friends, it would have been the same story because they didn't really do anything. There's a scene where I thought Jocasta was going to spike Ellie, but probably didn't, so that was odd. And if you skip the bit where Ellie was living at the student union for a night and didn't like it, and then started with her moving into the haunted flat, the film would have been the same and it would have saved some time. Kylie is a terrible example of someone being famous, so that their first name only identifies them. I know that was the point of the scene, but you could say Adele or Madonna or whatever, and it would have been a much better choice for the character. Who puts half a can of Coke that they haven't finished in a fridge? Ellie, once she moves into the haunted flat, needs to buy some curtains because those neon lights flashing through the window are insane. No wonder she started having crazy dreams. It's 1 a.m. and it is too loud for you to be playing your LPs. Ellie, I've seen that you've got some Beats by Dre headphones. You put those on at that time of night if you want to listen to your music. Ellie has a dream. She walks into a club. Guy at the door, whatever his name is, he's like, is the lady meeting a gentleman? She's all like, no. And then she walks up to the bar and she says, yeah, I want to meet the owner, who presumably, seeing as this is the 1960s, is a man. Jack, he is a manager slash pimp, it would turn out. But he's probably not welcome back at the nightclub, Cafe de Paris, or whatever it is, after he punched that patron in the face. So good luck getting any jobs there, Sandy. Also, was he drinking and driving? Bad. Was that a modern for sale sign seen in one of the 1960s sequences? Surely not, but it looked kind of plasticky. I don't know. I'm just going to come out and say it. The best love story in any Edgar Wright film is Nick Angel and Danny Butterman in Hot Fuzz. They've got the most chemistry together, and you actually buy that they are best friends. Poor sweet Lily James is just kind of there in Baby Driver for the main character to bounce off of. And then John, the love interest in this film, is the same. He's not his own person. He's got a quirky line or two, but he's just there for things to bounce off and him to chase after Ellie. John asks Ellie if she has plans for the night, like he's asking her out on a date. She's like, yeah, I sort of do. And that plan is to go to sleep and have a dream about the 60s. Now, presumably, seeing as she went to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning the night before and had this dream, you could do something in the evening with John and then go to bed later and still have the dream. Inferno did not look like a student union to me when John said, oh, the student union are doing a thing today. And if you are afraid to be alone because, you think your flat is haunted and ghosts are attacking you or whatever, if you want to hook up with a dude, go back to his place, not your place that, as previously mentioned, probably haunted. If he had said something like, oh, I live with my mum and she won't allow it, or something along those lines, I would have excused it, but he didn't. Ellie is quite disruptive to the class, and I can see why some of the students don't like her. Admittedly, they don't like her before the classes start, but who goes to an actual library anymore? You just use the internet. I went to uni a long time ago, and basically everything was done on the internet then. If I tell you what's going on, you'll think I'm crazy. My aunt believes in all sorts of weird stuff. Oh, okay, I'm now convinced to tell you I think I can see ghosts. That dialogue didn't make any sense to me. If he'd said, oh man, when I was a kid, I thought I saw a ghost or something, Ellie should be like, oh, well, I'll share this information with you. As previously mentioned, Ellie runs out of a lot of scenes. Ellie runs out of class, leaving her coat and bag. She runs around the streets for a bit. It's very loud music. I didn't like that. It's disorientatingly loud, and it was like an explosion in my ears all the time. Anyway, later, John finds her, and he's like, oh, you left your bag and your coat. Here they are. And then Ellie runs out of that scene. Ghosts and stuff. And she has her coat with her, but she left her bag. And then the next time we see John, he doesn't have the bag. So that's just in-lost property at the library now. Ellie turns up at the Toucan pub, and her boss, Mrs. Doyle from Father Ted, I believe, says, you've got a customer downstairs. And she's a bit annoyed. She's a bit miffed because Ellie seems to be late. If you've got no staff in the downstairs bar, tell the customers, of which there were many, not just one, they can't go down there. They've got to be served at the upstairs bar. If it were me and an old lady were swinging a cake knife at me on the stairs, I would kick her so hard that her hip was broken before she'd hit the landing. Ellie sees a scary old lady coming at her. She's all like, no, don't, She's already stabbed John, alright? Show her no mercy. Also, if you're in a building that is on fire, don't go upstairs, alright? You're leaving yourself to die. And John is on the ground floor, and Ellie's on maybe the 3rd or 4th floor or something along those lines. And the fire has gone all the way up the building. It's all engulfed. Tragedy. And then John, still alive, not burned to death on the ground floor. So why has the fire avoided him? I don't know. Rating out 5 beers. The dance scene where the 2 actresses were swapped out and it's all a one take, that was very good. I liked it. I do think I probably need to rewatch this because Edgar Wright films are usually quite dense and layered and have a lot of foreshadowing and so on and so forth. So I'm sure there's stuff I missed. But having said that, I would give this 3 beers out of 5 at the moment.